Is your vagina dry? Do you get aroused easily? Or do you have trouble lubricating? Your vascular health may be directly correlated with how well you get aroused and how lubricated your vagina is and your vagina's vascular health. In this episode, we're going to talk about how good physical health can help you with better genital health. Hi, I'm Dr. Neelima Deshpande, and this is V for Vagina, the podcast that dispels myths and misunderstandings about the vagina and empowers women to embrace their sexual energy, vitality, and well-being. This lady sat across the table. She was this typical 50-year-old lady I see these days in my clinic. The lollipop lady. A big round face and a big round body, with skinny arms and skinny legs. I know it's funny when I say the lollipop lady, but it's quite sad. Every woman who walks into my clinic like this often has the same problem. One of them, you probably guessed, is body image issues. Looking and feeling fat and unmotivated, with no desire, grumpy, irritable, and not wanting to get out of the chair. They don't have a life. There's no socializing. They've put their life on hold. And they have vaginal dryness, burning, urinary symptoms, insomnia, depression, anxiety, you name it. All of the symptoms we talked about in the menopause episode. But this time, it also affects their sexual health. They just don't want to be with their partner. They don't want that companionship. Their anger and irritability pushes people away. What's this got to do with physical health, you tell me? Everything. Everything. As you go through menopause, these decreasing estrogen and testosterone levels makes you lose muscle mass. Not just all over your body, but even your pelvic floor. The blood vessels throughout your body become less flexible, and you're more prone to getting things like high blood pressure. When the muscles in the body aren't active and they don't work, you start to develop a condition called insulin resistance. And you're more likely to develop a problem like diabetes. As your waist expands, you have more visceral fat around important organs. And this pushes up your insulin resistance. Your heart doesn't work quite as efficiently as before, because the blood flow to the heart is also through blood vessels. No wonder you're tired all the time. No wonder you don't feel like doing things, you don't feel like thinking through things, you don't feel loving and compassionate or understanding towards your partner. See, the brain is also not being supplied as well. And if your body's complaining because it hurts and aches and pains, how does your brain complain? What these negative looping thoughts, depression and anxiety, and the feeling of, I don't want to do anything, get out of my sight. The blood flow to your skin is compromised. So the feeling, the sensations on the skin, all the erogenous zones on your body, they don't respond the same way. Can you see? Can you hear what I'm saying? Your vascular health is so closely related with your libido, your desire, how your skin feels, how your genitals respond, and how well you feel in your body. If you don't feel good in your body, you're not going to feel good being around other people. If your skin doesn't feel good, your genitals don't feel good, you don't want to be touched. So many different hormones affect your well-being at menopause. Some of the key ones are estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. There's also others like cortisol and thyroid hormones and oxytocin. A kind of villain might be a hormone like dopamine. Gets triggered every time you get on your mobile phone instead of cuddling, instead of engaging in physical exercise, instead of achieving your goals. Cheap dopamine that keeps you stuck in that chair, just like this lady sitting in front of me across the table. Getting back to fitness and wellness doesn't have to be an uphill struggle. Like me, way back in 2018 when I challenged myself to go on a trek, a really difficult trek. And on the way up, all I said, oh God, I've got to do this. I'm going to die trying. You don't need to die trying. It can be so simple. Mind you, sometimes giving yourself a challenge where you can die trying proves to you that you don't need to die. That your body is capable of a lot more than you ever imagined. And it's just waiting for you to challenge it. A little bit at a time. And every goal in fitness and health that you achieve gives you another boost of self-esteem and self-worth. So what are some of the things that you need to do? Get your nutrition back on track. Address your sleep, your hydration, your breathing. And as your body comes into alignment with your essential physical needs, you'll find that your mind starts to respond, become less irritable, better nourished, more even-tempered. The small things don't bother you anymore. And as you start to get mobile, you start to move a little bit, your body's able to clear out toxins a lot more easily. And that waist circumference starts to go down. And the better you can talk to your partner about this, the better you can engage in physical activity together, or at least plan it together, you'll find you can have better conversations. And better everyday conversations can lead to more acceptance. Maybe a little bit more tolerance to that physical touch. Holding hands, stroking, giving a hug or a kiss. That leads to better intimacy. And better intimacy will lead to better sex. So how do you build physical health? Movement, yes, but what kind of movement? As you go through menopause, you face certain important challenges. Muscle loss is a big one. And losing muscle makes you fall more easily, it makes you less aware of your body, and it increases your risk of incontinence and prolapse. When you exercise, for sure you want to do something that builds muscle. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But your exercise through menopause needs to also improve your cardiovascular health, your balance, your spatial awareness, coordination, and your ability to recover from loss of balance, or even get up quickly if you have a fall. Building muscle as you go through menopause has been proven to be one of the most effective ways to improve all of these areas. Commonly, it's called strength training. But what does it actually mean to strength train? It means to challenge your muscles to the point where they want to grow. See, your body is a challenge-seeking machine. If you leave it to its own resources, it would rather have you slobbering around in your chair. That's what ancient humans did. They didn't get up randomly and go for a run. They only ran if they needed to hunt. They only shifted kids and children and household goods if they felt that the place they were staying in no longer served their needs. Not like today's women, wanting to dust all the time, going to the gym, sitting on a spinning machine, or engaging in some class or the other. These are ways that we force ourselves to move. It kind of makes sense that before you embark on a journey of building muscle, you ask yourself why. And sometimes you need a carrot and a stick. The stick can be all the problems I mentioned earlier. Your heart problems, problems with vaginal health, lubrication, loss of arousal. These are good enough reasons to want to move towards better physical health. The carrot can be amazing too. Flexibility, being dynamic, thinking faster on your feet, having great sexual health. Your body listening to what you wanted to do, that's amazing. Have you seen an old person who can't get out of the chair even if they want to? Have you seen an old person trying to sign their name on a check and discover that their fingers don't move the way they want? You don't want to be there with dementia and poor muscle tone and poor muscle power where your body doesn't listen to you. You better take care of it now. And muscle training does just that. It teaches your body to listen to you. Your muscles respond to being challenged. And that's where strength training comes into play. You can do that either with your own body weight. There's no end to different kinds of videos and tutorials and classes you can go to. You can hire a personal trainer. Or you can go all out like I did and study muscles and how they respond to stress and strain, the correct nutrition and being challenged, and which exercises are most efficient at getting you the biggest results. Some of the big muscle groups you want to be working are the muscles around your lower limbs, your thighs and your buttocks. And for women particularly is your upper limb as well, because we neglect our upper bodies. Your shoulder, your back muscles, all important muscles that keep you upright, moving, and in the best shape possible. Because when you improve the quality of these muscles, you start to look good as well. Building muscle improves your metabolic flexibility. And remember what I talked about in previous episodes? Your metabolic flexibility, which is your ability to burn fat and burn sugar on command, also is directly correlated with your autonomic flexibility. That's your ability to get out of stress, the ability of your blood vessels to dilate and constrict on command, and regulate blood flow to the area you need it most. So if you're exercising, then moving that blood flow to your muscles. If you've had a meal, moving it to your digestive system. If you're in the process of thinking and writing and arguing and conversing, then moving that blood flow to your brain. And if you're having sex and you're intimate, moving that blood flow to your genitals and to your skin. Can you hear and see now why your physical health is so important for your sexual health? There are other benefits too of building muscle, because when you're focused on challenging your muscles, you're not really thinking about the worries. You're not thinking about arguments. You're not thinking about the future or the past. You're really present on building that muscle. And that muscle responds because you're talking to it directly. There's no confused messages here. And that muscle mass serves you. When you're out and about and say you're walking on the street and somebody comes along and gives you a little bit of a nudge. And if you're a little old frail lady without any muscle mass, you'll lose your balance and fall. But if you've got great hip muscles, quadriceps, you've got great tummy, core strength and shoulders, you might sway a little bit on your feet, but you come back straight to center. And even if you did happen to fall, your muscle training is going to help you get back straight on your feet. And say you did have a fall and you did have a fracture. The very fact that you've got great muscles, great fitness, great vascular health means you're going to heal faster than anybody else you know. Testosterone is a key hormone in menopause. And as testosterone levels drop along with estrogen levels, it causes changes throughout your body. Your metabolic function changes, your muscle mass decreases, and your brain doesn't think of sex as often. How can you fix that? Well, did you know that building muscle mass can improve your testosterone levels? Building muscle mass makes you look more attractive in the mirror. Building muscle mass improves your vascular flexibility and your heart health and your liver function and your metabolism. And guess what happens? When you look in the mirror again, you feel sexy. And you're much more likely to think of sexy thoughts. And you're much more likely to respond with a yes when it comes to a sexual encounter. So building muscle could be your ticket to a better sex life as you go into menopause. Another key hormone as you go through menopause is cortisol. And most of the time it gets a bad rap because it's associated with stress and agitation and all the wrong things. And of course it leads to that lollipop lady look. But that's only if you don't know how to use your cortisol. See, cortisol is released in peaks. And the first peak you experience is soon after you wake up in the morning. That's if you're not sleeping in because you had a late night or you didn't sleep well. If you sleep well, then typically your cortisol levels start to peak with daylight. They start about 4 a.m. and they reach the highest level maybe between 6 to 10 in the morning. You can use that cortisol to get moving. Sometimes it's about engaging with nature. It's about going on a walk or a run, meeting friends. Something that uplifts your energy. If you use that cortisol to look at your phone, you've defeated the purpose of cortisol. And you've set yourself on a spiral of negativity for the day. Cortisol was always released in our body because it was meant to be used up for activity, movement, engagement, socializing. So time your activity so that your cortisol is used up. Cortisol also peaks a little bit later in the day before it finally goes down so you can sleep. Testosterone also peaks late morning, around 11, and late afternoon, 4 and 5. You might want to time your muscle workouts at the time testosterone peaks. And as darkness falls, maybe you could restrict your activities to relaxation and preparing for sleep. Avoid burdening your digestion late in the evening. Try and finish your meals early, so there's more blood flow available to the brain as it sleeps. I've got into the practice of sleeping on an empty stomach. And I've chosen to ignore everything my mother said about sleeping hungry. All those stories about the ghosts that visit you on an empty stomach. See, I don't believe all these stories anymore, and you shouldn't either. Just try it. And if you need, you might have a few sips of water if your stomach grumbles. See, you are never supposed to sleep on a full stomach. Your body does most of its healing overnight, especially the brain. So you want to wake up refreshed and energized to jump into your cortisol-using activity, then go to bed empty stomach. I wasn't always this way. I went through my own uphill journey. And that's not just the trek I described to get fit. I looked for a practice I could do every day, and I stumbled upon martial arts. And maybe you find something you enjoyed as a child as well. Go back to what made you come alive. Go back to the movies that inspire you. Go back to those heroes that make you want to get up and join them. Go back to the music that wants you to move your feet and your body. I found martial arts. I found ballroom dancing and salsa and belly dance. And I found 10X for muscle building. And today, I can proudly say I'm the fittest, slimmest, most resilient person I've ever been in my life. Even more than when I was 25. And you can too. Don't be a statistic. Build muscle, get fit, and live your life the best way possible. Even your sex life. It's just waiting for you. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with whoever you think needs to hear it. If you'd like to talk to me one-on-one for a personal consultation, get in touch with me via my website, www.drneelima, Neelima, Deshpande, Deshpande.com. And you'll find a button there where you can click and book a slot with me. And I'll be sure to respond to any of your queries. Thank you. Disclaimer. This podcast is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's or listener's own risk. The content on this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.